Eddie knows it.
Styles make fights.
Connor knows it.
Styles make fights. Every fight is a different fight.
And Danny Jacobs knows it too.
If you understand that boxing styles make fights, there's no way that you can automatically think because he defeated Golovkin that he'll defeat me.
Every good fighter knows that styles make fights. And in boxing, there are 4 base styles every fighter needs to get their head around if they want to become great. We'll start with the in-fighter, like the greatest in-fighter of all time, Henry Armstrong. Also known as inside fighters, swarmers, and crowders, the aim of an in-fighter is to get inside their opponent's reach to land barrages of brutal hooks and uppercuts. It's usually a super entertaining style in a horrendous sort of way because of the relentless pummeling they inflict on opponents while often getting pummeled themselves. Think of relentless forward-moving champions like Rocky Marciano, Joe Frazier, Julio Cesar Chavez, Jack Dempsey, Joe Calzaghe, and Mike Tyson. These are the shorter fighters willing to take a beating to get within range to put men down. Next up are the sluggers, or brawlers like Sonny Liston, punchers with ungodly power in both hands. These terrifying fighters aren't usually known for their grace and speed, but they don't have to be. If they land a clean punch, it's either good night Irene, or it's just the beginning of an end that isn't too far away. In particular, it's the heavyweights like Deontay Wilder, who might look awkward, but have been gifted with spectacular one-punch knockout power that fighters dream of.
At the end of the day, styles make fights, and my style is what it is.
But it's the men like George Foreman who make the slugger truly terrifying. They aren't always the prettiest fighters to watch, but they're brutally devastating. And when they start to land, they don't stop until their opponent is in a crumpled, unconscious heap on the canvas. In stark contrast to the power-punching brawlers are the outfighters, like Muhammad Ali. Also called outboxers and pure boxers, outfighters maintain decorum using faster, long-range punches and crafty footwork. They epitomize the hit and not get hit ethos, and because of this, often win on points, but not necessarily. Vladimir Klitschko was a brilliant outfighter, and he has one of the best knockout-to-win ratios in history. He kept opponents at bay with a ramrod left jab until he found a home for his steel hammer of a right hand. Other long-reigning champs like Jack Johnson, Larry Holmes, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. all focused more on not getting hit and picking apart challengers from a safe distance. And finally, we come to the boxer punchers like the greatest to ever do it, Sugar Ray Robinson. The fun of these hybrid-style fighters with more well-rounded skill sets are that you never know what to expect. They can swarm in and deliver barrages of punches from deep inside. They can fight moving backward and keeping their distance. And when they want, they can land with devastating power to end a fight in an instant. Evander Holyfield was brilliant at doing what he needed to get the win. So was Carlos Monzon, Lennox Lewis, and Roberto Duran. Champions with a combination of stamina, knockout ability, skill, and speed, but without ever overcommitting to one particular style. Within these 4, there are a possible 3 subtypes too, the first of which is the counterpuncher like Canelo Alvarez. These fighters wait for their opponents to lash out, or they lure them into lashing out. Either way, they punish them with return fire. Then there are the southpaws like Manny Pacquiao. These fighters stand with a left-handed stance and a lead right hand, reversing all of the techniques to leave the orthodox opponent open for power shots from the opposite side. And finally, there's the ultra-rare switch hitters like Terrence Crawford. These ambidextrous wizards constantly shift their stance between orthodox and southpaw, leaving their opponents confused and open to be hit from anywhere and everywhere. But back to styles making fights. It's easiest if we go back to Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, and George Foreman, the big three names of the heavyweight golden era. Ali was primarily an outfighter and dominated opponents with footwork and a wickedly educated jab, controlling the pace of the fight from a distance. But Frazier was an infighter who specialized in getting past the jab to land powerful hooks. And Frazier handed Ali his first ever loss by applying constant pressure and getting inside Ali's reach. Frazier, however, got absolutely crushed by the slugger George Foreman, because power-hitting brawlers love nothing more than swarmers who want to come within striking distance. But when Foreman met the outfighter Ali, he got stopped because pure boxers like their opponents to be wild and slow. That way they can avoid the majority of the slugger's power to come back with power of their own. It's like rock, paper, scissors. An outfighter's quick and accurate sniping gives them the advantage over sluggers. Sluggers love infighters because they stand within range. And an infighter's constant pressure gives them the advantage over an outfighter who prefers distance. Boxer-punchers like Oscar de la Hoya don't have any such pronounced weaknesses, and they can fight from anywhere equally as well. But boxer-punchers aren't as good in specific areas, and it doesn't matter how good they are. They can get caught fighting to another fighter's strengths and find themselves in deep trouble. And that brings us to the genius outfighter, Floyd Mayweather. This undefeated champion was an absolute master of distance and making fighters miss. He's one of the slickest counterpunchers in history. Marcus Maidana was simply not on his level, but Maidana was a relentless, power-hitting pressure fighter who loved to get on the inside. He was an outfighter's nightmare. Because his style troubled Mayweather, he managed to negate a lot of Mayweather's mastery, and he nearly pulled off one of the greatest upsets in boxing history. But by their second fight, Floyd had worked him out and proved an important point. Fights aren't just won because of advantageous style matchups, if you know what you're doing. But it's not just a cliche that styles make fights. Better than that, they can make fights even more fun to watch.
Thanks for watching. And remember, if you want more fight sports in your life, just hit the subscribe button.